Welcome to Whiskey Wars here on Top Whiskies. In this series, we take one whiskey and we compare it against the other, trying to understand what flavors or what is making that whiskey taste the way that it does. And in this video, we've got a really interesting combination. We're looking at Craigellachie 13, which is a quintessential Speyside whiskey, and Ardbeg Uigeadail, which is, well, the epitome of Islay smoky peaty whiskey. If this is your first time watching a Top Whiskies video, where have you been? Click the subscribe button, ding the bell. We do whiskey videos every week, and we give away a free bottle of premium whiskey every month. So don't miss out. All right, let's get this whiskey war started. As always, we're going to look at three different dimensions: the nose, the palate, and the finish, and then everything associated with those. Let's start with the Craigellachie 13, because realistically, if we started with the Ardbeg, I wouldn't be able to taste the Craigellachie. So here we go. On the nose, it's really inviting. You get kind of luscious fruits, though it's kind of a medium intensity and I hate using these kind of extended metaphors, but that sort of orchard, walking into an apple garden. Do apples have gardens? Apples don't have gardens, do they? Orchard. It's like orchard fruits. And I know I sound really pretentious when I say that, and I don't want to. But I lack the vocabulary to describe it in any way that doesn't make me sound slightly pretentious. So, medium orchard fruits. Now, onto the palate. That appley sweetness definitely carries through. Though this is certainly a sweet whiskey. The alcohol itself is warming. So this is 46% alcohol. So it's getting up there on the alcohol percentage ABV. You can feel that a bit, but it's not unpleasant, and we're trying these whiskeys without adding any water to them. So this is, yeah, it is a bit warming, but not in a bad way. And I think the fact that it has a really nice, robust, medium body helps with that. It helps carry flavors through really well. And you get sort of medium fruit flavors coming through. And these fruit flavors are a bit different than the fruit that it was on the nose. They're similar, definitely related, but these are a bit juicier, a bit more concentrated than I think what was on the nose. The finish itself, it's definitely a nice medium finish. You can feel it sort of pulling its way through. It's got a really nice kind of thread, almost a little bit of peat to it. It has some complexity, so I can feel lots of those sorts of fruit, sweet flavors interweaving. Yeah, it's really an enjoyable, nice, medium finish with some complexity. And now let's try moving to a completely, I was gonna say different part of the world. It's actually not that far away, but we're going to move to an entirely different flavor profile with the Uigeadail. I can get the nose on this without even bringing my nose to it. In fact, just opening the bottle, smoke just emerges like a genie. It is, so not even gonna try it yet. I'm probably just going to say it's going to be pronounced, because without even smelling it, I smell smoke. Lo and behold. But let's peel that to one side first, because yes, Ardbeg is smoky. Everyone knows that. I mean, it is literally on the bottle. But let's put the smoke to one side, and you actually get some really interesting flavors. You get a bit of sweetness. You get a bit of oak. There's actually some things that are underlying all of that smokiness. But on the whole, you have to say this is a pronounced smoky whiskey, and that nose is lovely. What makes it so good though, I think, is the combination of those two. It's not just that you get this beautiful nose full of peat, which doesn't sound beautiful at all, but it's that you get all of that smoke, but it's got some nuances and some complexity, some dynamics to it on the nose. And moving on to the palate, and again, I want to start by putting the smoke to one side, and we'll get to that later. If you peel that back, what you start to get is an off-dry, almost a sweet body. It's just got those sorts of sweet notes to it, which is really surprising. Then looking at the alcohol, so this is 54% alcohol. That is obviously a lot of alcohol. This is, in fact, mostly alcohol. And without a doubt, it is warming. You can't take a drink of this and not taste a bit of alcohol. But there's something about the way it interacts with the peat and those other flavors that actually doesn't make it quite so overpowering. Just a couple of drops of water and all of a sudden, this turns into a smooth whiskey. Again, we're not going to add water for the sake of just straight comparison between the two, which does make it difficult when you're looking at alcohol or looking at whiskeys that are such dynamically different ABVs. So just as it comes, this is, well, it's certainly a warming whiskey, but it doesn't have to be. Moving on to the body, again, moving on to the intensity, again, I mean, it is pronounced smoke. That's unquestionable. But what's really interesting is, again, that dynamics of the smoke. It's smoked meat. It still has that sweetness to it. It's not sugar, it's more complex sweetness, like a fruitcake sweetness. Really enjoyable, really well integrated. And moving on to the finish, oh, that's nice. What's interesting is it's also a medium finish. It's got some complexity, but it's very dynamic and it shifts and it moves. This is really enjoyable all the way through. All right, let's move on to comparing the two. And I have absolutely zero chance of getting the two of these mixed up. What's cool about doing these tastings side by side is getting to experience very different flavors. And these are very different whiskeys. So starting with the Craigellachie, this is a really well executed Speyside whiskey. It's got some interesting flavors of fruit coming through, really well constructed sweetness. I like the medium body. I really enjoy the finish. I think that when we start thinking about how we rate whiskeys, generally we tend to start by saying every whiskey starts at good, and is there anything to push it over to make it very good? Is there anything to pull back that's maybe detracting to make it acceptable, or something that's even worse that maybe makes it bad? The Craigellachie, I think that the way that it really embraces its Speyside heritage and really creates a well-integrated, fruity Speyside whiskey is certainly enough to push it into a very good whiskey. And moving on to the Ardbeg Uigeadail, wow. I'm someone that's become probably a recent convert to peaty whiskey. If you're someone that doesn't particularly like peaty whiskey, this is not a good one to start with. Maybe it's one that your taste buds might grow to appreciate someday, but it's not a beginner's peaty whiskey. This is an unabashedly peaty Ardbeg. But what makes it good is, of course, the fact that that smoke and that peat is so well constructed. So I would already push it into a very good whiskey for its use of peat alone. I think that it is a really interesting, dynamic, peaty whiskey. But the word I used was dynamic, and the reason for that is that it has this great balance between its inherent smokiness, but also its sweetness. That's, like I was saying, that sort of fruitcake sweet notes. It's a really good juxtaposition to that overpowering smoke. And so to me, Ardbeg Uigeadail is an outstanding whiskey. Thanks for watching this video. Let us know what you think of these two whiskeys in the comments down below. If you have any whiskeys that you'd like us to see sort of pair to pair, head to head, let us know in the comments. And we hope you enjoyed this video. Remember to subscribe for next week's Whiskey War.